Vicki and Natalie, and we're back again this week with another roundup of the Great British Sewing Bee. So last night's episode was episode 4 and it was Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Week, which is a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? So yeah, it was a cool episode, wasn't it?
Super cool, very me, very how I sew.
You've been looking forward to this one, haven't you?
No, it's good, yeah. And I applaud Sewing Bee for, again, talking about the fashion industry, the sewing industry, which is the second most polluting. So it's really important, or just a nice to highlight the importance of taking a step back, thinking about what's in your wardrobe, being more mindful with it, using your scraps, maybe giving something a new lease of life that you know, to give it like longevity. So
I think we've probably all had those garments throughout our life that are just precious to us, that we love and wear, and then they get to the point where you've got a stain on them, or they're just worn out or whatever, and it's like gut wrenching to have to give that garment up. And so if you can reimagine that garment, with different mending techniques, or transform it into something completely new, or appliquing it, or whatever it might be. I just think it's such a powerful tool that we have in our creative toolbox.
It's so freeing as well. When you get into sewing, it's very much here's the pattern, here's the fabric, do that. But to challenge the contestants to go, here's some tote bags, here's here's a blanket, it's really cool to just sort of be led again, much like previous weeks, to be led by what the fabric is or what it is, and then come up with a new design. Just feels you're putting your own spin on it, you're improving your sewing skills, and you've saved something from going to landfill.
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely. 3 ticks, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with me as well, I think like if you're somebody like me who throughout my life my weight has fluctuated, so I'll often be in a position where I've got clothes in my wardrobe that I love, that I've made or bought, and they're now too big for me or they're too small for me, and just to be able to reimagine those and create them into something new or recycle them in some way, whatever it might be. Again, it's such a great thing to be able to do, isn't it? I was really inspired by last night's episode. I must admit, it felt very free and creative
and organic.
Absolutely. So Nat, tell us what you're wearing today.
So I am wearing today the Named Clothing Kilo dress in our viscose jersey Inky Groves. It's so comfortable, it's so lovely. This is a really popular pattern on our site. A lot of people have made this. It's super comfy in the jersey as well. And it just hangs really well, doesn't it? And it's got sort of like the shape of it when the tie is very big at the hip, which is really cool. It's like a statement hip, and then you can bring it in with these ties either at the front or at the back. So I feel very comfy.
And you love a cinched in waist, don't you? And it just allows you to create that shape.
And the pattern just pops as well. I know it's a really big scale, but it's just gorgeous. It's so beautiful.
It's really lovely for some of that print, isn't it? Really like fresh colours. And I've made a top actually in the viscose chalet version of that. And I love the print as well. But we have a sew along for this pattern.
We do, yes. Or it should be out, or it will be out, but it's with Diane, so it's absolutely fantastic.
And we've got kits as well. So absolutely gorgeous. It really suits you that as well.
And what are you wearing?
And I'm wearing, so this is just a really simple top. It's Butterick 5955, and it's like my favourite. I've made it so many times. The top, I love it. You can have it cut out and sewn in a couple of hours. It's so quick and easy. And I think so. This fabric is our Minerva exclusive viscose chalet. It's the Paw Print Patrol print, which is another tongue twister. I just think it's so pretty. This print, it's one of my favourites. I love it. I really love the sky bluey kind of background. But I did make a couple of tweaks to the pattern. So the pattern, it does look a little bit different to this. So it has a seam down the front, but I took that out on this and cut it on the fold because I didn't want any interruption of the print.
Make your life easier.
Make my life easier, exactly. And I also, because I took that seam out, I added a face into the neckline instead of how it's done on the pattern originally. I sort of like it, creating more of like a curved neckline, like the one on the pattern is a pointed V-neck. I just think it's just a change. I like the V-neck one, I've plenty of those, but it's just a bit of a change. And I really like it. The little grown-on sleeve, so it's just really quick and simple. Can't beat that kind of pattern for me.
That's what you need with a top as well, which is fun when you're just wearing like jeans or leggings. If you've got a bit more of a statement kind of top. If the pattern does the talking, then the print, not the pattern, and you're good to go.
Exactly, literally just team it with jeans or leggings.
I'm just picturing your whole wardrobe at home, just like this. 1, 2, 3.
I mean, I can't lie. Like probably a good like third of my wardrobe is this exact top in different Minerva fabrics.
Are these pattern pieces looking a bit worse for wear now? You've used them.
I've traced them onto Swedish tracing paper. I use them that much.
You're a pro. Absolute
yeah, I've even got the version traced out without the seam, the version with. Yeah, I mean, I really love this pattern.
Oh, good. That's so good though.
Yeah. Right, so let's get stuck into first challenge. So, first challenge. So this was the pattern technical challenge, wasn't it? So this week was a zero waste pattern. So I've never sewn a zero waste pattern, have you?
No, neither have I. I've obviously seen quite a lot online. It seems very much an indie sort of movement. Lots of people, because it's very maths based. It's a lot about working out basically how you can get the full pattern out of the piece of fabric that you've got without cutting any away. So when you start to think about pockets, about additions, like you know, it's a tricky one. So a lot of people are probably scared to approach it.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on it fascinates me because like what we saw last night, so the pattern last night was a trouser pattern, wasn't it? That was like had a drawstring, it had pockets on the back, and just quite a loose fit wide leg. I think my initial thoughts are anything I kind of see that's a zero waist pattern tends to be quite boxy and oversized.
If you like an oversized.
Yeah, which is very on trend at the moment. It's not necessarily, I mean, I say this standing here with an oversized top on, but it's anything like sort of, I guess in a trouser, very oversized isn't necessarily my thing, but it is very much a look and a trend right now, isn't it?
And comfortable, probably good for travelling.
Yes.
Often associated with linens and light fabrics and breathable. It's all very
natural, breathable.
I want to say hippie. It's a nice sort of hippie feel sort of to it. You know, it wouldn't have really. I've not seen many zero waist patterns with lots of very formal finishings. It's all very loose and
it has. I mean, I just instantly think linens when I think of linens and cottons and silks even. So the bit I kind of find fascinating about it, I love how it's like a different approach that you've not necessarily got like the pattern pieces as such, like how they were drawing it out last night. Now I love the idea of that. You're a bit
No, I looked at the whole them on the floor measuring along and measuring, and I would just be like, oh yeah, that'd be about the line, which is what Faux did, that'd be the trouser line. So I think I need to train my brain a bit more.
I get a kick out of the math side of working things out like that. But
it's really cool. It's almost like origami in a way. You have perfectly figured out how that one piece of fabric is going to come into a garment. So that's really pleasing, and it must be it must be great to know that there's no waste out of that as well.
And the other bit that I find fascinating about it is just how when you see different zero waste patterns, it's just how that actually works in terms of wasting no fabric. Like last night, if you noticed the rounded like bottoms of the corners of the pockets, that created like the crotch line of the trouser, didn't it? That curve. Cool.
It's
very clever, isn't it?
It is very clever. It's sort of to design that sort of pattern, you've got to have sort of a 3D brain almost. Yeah,
I imagine you probably need to completely understand pattern drafting, how it normally works, and then be able to step back, and it's almost like completely reinventing it, isn't it? So it's very, very interesting.
It was very enjoyable to watch.
I would definitely be tempted into having a go at the zero waste pattern. I don't know if it would be trousers for me because, like I say, it would be.
There are some dress designs that I've seen that are maybe a bit more batwing style dress. I've seen things like that, but it's definitely worth having a look online.
And the fact that you've no fabric left over going to waste is a nice idea, isn't it?
So they all use different types of fabric as well. So for quite a structured, boxy kind of pair of pants, a lot of them succeeded in using linen, didn't they?
Yeah. Well,
which is your favourite fabric?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was watching it, my instant thought was, especially when they were talking about that the pressing in the curve on the back pockets, and I was just like, oh, I definitely have sewn that in linen, because I think linen is so like malleable, and it just it behaves and it does what you tell it to do.
Yeah, you can almost like finger press it.
Yeah, you can like mould it, and it just does what you ask it to do. So I think that would have been, it would have created a really nice curve on the pockets. It would have hung well. It would have drawn in on that waistband nicely. So I thought Mia's in the pink linen.
Yeah,
I thought that would have been the sort of fabric I would have.
I loved how wild Esmé's trousers were.
Yeah.
So they were a jacquard, which was because they were given a selection of dead stock fabrics, and I think it was a jacquard mix of something, and they looked quite very structured, but I just loved the print of them.
Yeah, for me personally, I felt they were a little bit too structured, but I mean the judges really liked it, didn't they? And they did, you know, I mean they were impeccably sewn.
They were.
I guess for me it's just a taste thing.
And she said, I've never done anything like this before. I was like,
I know, I mean she's such a good sewer, isn't she?
Yeah.
And yeah, you could see they're impeccably sewn. Yeah, it was just the structure of them for me. I felt it was a little bit heavy.
It made them more formal.
It's just a personal choice, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you know, a soft draping linen is where I'm at.
It was such a fun challenge as well, and they were all really up against it. Watching them trying to feed through the drawstring right at the end, like with like a minute to go, it was like go. Yeah, it was really, really good to watch. But
I think like after everything I've said with the, you know, I love like the maths and getting all those measurements right. I love all the idea of all that. Like that's all well and good, but not under that time pressure. I think like because I think was it Patrick at one point said like, oh, this is the bit you need to be spending time on, get this bit right,
and it will all come together.
Yeah, but like when you know you're against the clock and you're yet to
and
sew
all the
these
seam allowances have to be bang on.
Yeah,
I'd need my Weetabix. I would need to be in the zone. But yeah, we've pulled together. What we would make, we don't have a zero waste pattern.
Yeah, we don't have zero waste patterns at Minerva at the moment, but we've pulled together a trouser pattern each that's along a similar sort of theme, isn't it?
Yes.
So if I start, so the trouser pattern I chose was Burda 6735, and this is rated a super easy pattern.
Ooh,
so you know,
love it.
Get as an extra tip from me. But yeah, this is like a wideish leg. Simple trouser pattern really. It has the drawstring waist and it has pockets at the side. Just really quite simple.
A fab staple to just have.
Yeah, I think like to wear them on holiday or like when it's hot now in the UK, in like a summery fabric would just be lovely. So I think they would be lovely in a viscose chalet if you wanted something really summery. But as we were just saying before, linen I just think would be lovely. So the fabric I've chose, so it's a Minerva exclusive, and it's our Sunprint Palms print, linen and viscose blend. So if I'd have been doing the challenge last night, this would have been the base cloth I would have wanted to have worked with. Yeah, it's just the viscose gives it gorgeous softness. The linen, you know, it gives it the body and that beautiful like slubby texture.
Yeah, I was going to say the print itself and the schlub really complements each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love this print. I think it's so summery and pretty. Yeah. And it definitely wouldn't need pattern matching because it's just so busy and like all over. So yeah, I just think that'd make a fabulous pair of summer trousers.
We basically need to book a holiday, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Every week we're just like, if I was going to the beach, that would make a fun sort of tie around as well.
Yes.
Singing and you can make a matching swimwear thing. Go back to that episode. That's really gorgeous.
Yeah. I think to go with those trousers as well, even to knit like a little, you know, I don't know, like an Ogden cami little top or a little crop top of some sort.
Oh yeah.
They just make a nice little cord set
that's definitely like exploring around an old historic city.
Yeah.
You know, just, hi everyone. Big straw hat.
Yeah, big sunglasses.
Yeah, we'll get it booked. Yeah, it'll be fine. Oh yeah, we've got a bag from previous episodes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole outfit is coming together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what did you choose then now?
So I've gone with the Simplicity 9595, which is more of the wrap style, or it features sort of like, they're not two pieces, but the wrap of the trouser comes around to the front and you tie it. So it's a bit, it's not like last night's, but it's, if you wanted to do, there are other zero waste patterns that have that style.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of as near as we have to a zero waste pattern. It's not zero waste, but very little fabric is left over from it.
So you can see it's one view, it's one size, and it can be cut from the width of the fabric. So that's where the sort of like zero wasty part comes in. Yeah. And I've chosen a brand new Minerva exclusive viscose challis. Everyone says it differently, don't they? This is the Cave Print Connections. Yeah. And I love it. It's giving me, you know, you can take it in a kind of gothy. Yeah. If you prefer to wear black or you feel comfortable in black, this is a really good print because it's got the white and the creams that pop off it as well.
I think lovely for trousers as well, because if you're anything like me, you know, if I had like white trousers, I would, you know, they'd be marked within 2 seconds, so a black background would be very practical.
And it's sort of like a mid-sized print. It's not too huge. It's got enough going on.
Individually, each of these little marks are all quite tiny, aren't they? But the overall pattern is actually quite, you know, spread over a big area.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's got greys in there. I don't know if you can see all the tones, but
it's
really
lots of like subtle differences in tones.
And also these types of prints don't really go out of fashion. They're sort of timeless because they're safe, you know, they're kind of, bold enough but also safe enough to just have in your wardrobe forever.
Takes me back to my like college and uni days when I was doing like doing lots of drawing and sketching to like sort of inform my like textile work, and I just see it as like a mark making exercise. I think it's fabulous.
And then with the rest of your outfit you could go nuts. You could have a shocking pink top, or you
some
really,
accessories and jewellery.
It goes with
like
everything.
that.
It goes with everything. So that's my choice.
And I think the soft like drapiness of this would really suit that pattern as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So that's what we think. So next, the second challenge. So this was the transformation challenge, wasn't it? And not always my favourite. So this week, they were given like a huge pile of tote bags.
Really colourful tote bags.
And the brief was to make them into a top, wasn't it? And I remember Esmé said like what she was looking for, and what was really important was how they like put colours together and how they placed the prints on the bags into the top.
Yeah, because they're like limited by the amount of fabric that's on each tote bag, so it's about grabbing a few and really fusing them together in something that's coherent.
I feel a little bit split on this challenge, if I'm honest. There's one side of it where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like tote bags are just, in a sense, it gives you lots of rectangles of fabric, doesn't it? So I think with that, it should be like relatively, not easy to work with and easy to do, but there should be lots of options. On the other side, my brain is just like, I've no idea what I would have done, and I'm still feeling like that now. I think if you had them in front of you, and you had a dress form and you could start sort of placing or holding them up, it's a lot easier, but it can be hard through the TV screen to go. I don't know what it is this week with this challenge. I just feel like I've got a mental block on what I would have done. Not that I'm always the most creative when it comes to this challenge anyway, but even more so this week. So what did you think then?
I really enjoyed it. Immediately I thought the straps were fantastic. So my sort of thought process was a halter neck top. And then probably it would be really cute to get like a sweetheart neckline, either two-tone or different fabrics throughout that, but then make the straps the star of the show and have them almost like tasseled down. So it's really quite a basic sort of top, but having all of these tassels quite like neatly together. More of a festival vibe, which is much what Mia did with hers.
So that was the bikini style one, and I did think that fit the dress form really well, didn't it?
With the elastic in the back. And you could see, as Mary had said, it was bikini style, and you could see the matching pants or whatever, but it did not look like it was ever tote bags.
No.
It was brilliant.
And that really was a transformation and a half, wasn't it?
And some of the greats, Lizzie did a fantastic job that she put together that top, and that was a lot of construction. That was the one with the B on the back, wasn't it? That was so much construction in a short amount of time.
I was well impressed with that one, because I just thought the amount of work in that for an hour and a half, that was impressive.
And just knowing, like, go. And you know exactly, it was less placey and more
and again, how she'd use the handles, that was pretty cool as well. I thought Matthew's choice of fabrics just worked beautifully. I didn't like when he had the tote bags like on his table, I didn't like necessarily see it at first. But what he actually, I think it was like the proportions of the amount of colours and
it's a real skill, isn't it? It's not really thought of. It's much like the draping part, use of colour and pattern and texture. Sometimes just reads or doesn't read. Like Tony had done two really clashing prints that looked amazing. You know, you're really taking a gamble on whether it comes through or not. Asma had done a beautiful, very well fitted front. And Vicki had done a fantastic job with the straps. That was almost halter neck the way it went down the back.
They said they didn't like the colour combination of Vicki's, didn't they? I liked it. That's my kind of and I don't think she got enough credit for
and it was if they'd all been like red pink creams, it would have been dull. It was nice to see some plaids and
because a lot of people colours as well, and it did work where they choose lots of similar colours that whereas I'd say like Matthew and Vicki's were both a bit more clashing and a bit more daring, I suppose. But I think the challenge needed a bit of that as well.
Their personalities always come through with it. You know, everyone you still sew with your own thoughts in mind in the challenge, which is great as well. It's always very
I thought
unique.
Lauren, you know how she used the bag handle as a binding? I thought, like Patrick said, I did think that was a really cool idea that I probably wouldn't have thought of. I mean, it didn't really work because it didn't sit well, did it? But the idea
I do that quite a lot. I love a stretched neckline. a purposeful stretched neckline. I do it to like every garment, just
it's your signature stamp.
It's my signature stamp, but I use scraps so much. I almost sew in the first place with this in mind, as does lovely Jo on our team. We've got a video coming out with how to use scraps, but I just thought I would bring in some kind of examples of how I've done that. Just so that, I mean, I don't know about you, do your scraps just go in a big bag? I have like a huge bag of some of them, and then others.
My sewing room, which I can't believe I'm the person actually saying this, but my sewing room is actually generally quite organised. It might be a bit messy because I have things, but I know where everything is, and you know, fabrics are organised well, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm a messy person. But when it comes to scraps, no, I'm just like, oh, I'll sort that later, and I never do.
Yeah, they all go in one big bag, and you think, oh, and you also sew with Visco Australia a lot as well, which is harder almost to recycle into something because of its flow, because you need a lot of seams there, and that's disruptive, so it takes a bit more thought. But I sew with cottons a lot, I sew with knits a lot. So I made this dress. This is this is the Sew Over It Lottie dress, which I was inspired by someone on site doing this two-tone, literally on the site for these two polycottons. Someone had made a shirt that was two-tone, so I was like, I need to make a dress.
Is that polycotton?
Yeah, so it's a really good way as well to have a go at something on a budget and then get it right and then go back in.
Yeah, I think polycotton, like, you know, it's not the most luxurious fabric, but it really has a purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Great for, I mean,
great prints
beautiful that dress is.
So
great from prints,
I
loads
got
of choice.
1.5 metres of each, just to be safe, be on the safe side, sizing wise. I managed to get a belt, which is reversible. I made a headband.
I love the reversible belt, that's really clever.
And I'll interface that a little bit better next time. I made a headband that was matching as well. And then there was so much left over that I was able to make a quilt. This is all on my page on Minerva as well. But it's just like, if you really put your mind to it and sort of like think carefully about how you're going to put it out. So you wouldn't have thought you'd get all that from one thing. And then I'm backed with another fabric that I just had in my stash, so if you can make them work. And then another thing that I do is that I save all of my little scraps. This is nuts. This is me in a nutshell.
I love the idea of this, that seeing people's scraps and it like sort of, it demonstrates, it's a visual demonstration of their sewing journey over a period of time.
Beautiful.
I love that idea.
And also it's something for you. I started quilting at the start of the pandemic and I just thought, oh, I'll have a go. It's often like, oh, I'll make a gift for someone, or I'll make a baby thing or whatever. But if you've got clothes that you've made and the fabric is you, you know, why not turn it into a quilt for your own house or a runner? Or so these are just a really odd amalgamation. This is a dress that I made recently. I made some trousers from this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, those are both on my thing. There's the white again. This is some gorgeous fabric that was given to me by my grandma that I planned to make a dress in. This is like, there's just very peculiar. It's going to make a wacky quilt.
But it's new in a
if you keep up with it, if you don't feel like sewing a full project and you know you've got your scraps there, I just went and cut the triangles and sewed them together almost on like autopilot. One day I'll have enough to do the quilt with, and then that'll be the time when I start that project. And Jo does the same. She's got like a stripped quilt that she adds to. You'll see it in the back of some of her videos, and again it'll come together after a few years. So it's like having several projects on the go at once. You've got maybe your main garment that you're on with, but there's also a couple of scrappy projects going on in the background. So it's just a really nice conscious way of using up the scraps that you've got. And creating something absolutely bonkers.
And you had a good little tip, didn't you, with the viscose chalet? Yes. Because obviously that's a very soft drape. That's it, isn't it? A soft drapey fabric. And this fabric is like 100% cotton, isn't it? It's definitely more structured. So the viscose on its own would have been like very like soft and fluffy next to it, wouldn't it? So you've put some interfacing on the back, haven't you? And it just gives each fabric a similar characteristic then, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that it will come together.
Yeah, exactly. So you can always sort of like, if you've got a really thin fabric and a heavy fabric, you can always add some interfacing to even that out a little bit, can't you?
And these are by no means like perfect or neat or whatever.
Need to be, though,
no, because when it's just a little something for you, that represents
it's about
you. It's the enjoyment of doing it.
And I think there's something with quilting that I think is different to dressmaking, in my approach anyway, that it is something that I think you can really enjoy, like collecting and building over time. And it's not always about the finished thing.
No.
It's about the, saving those scraps, sewing them into these triangle blocks and, you know, and just collecting them over time, and it's that joy of like planning this project and building up to it, and I don't know, there's something different about that than dressmaking.
Yeah, I was
often we want to just get it finished and wear it.
Totally, and it's not about fitting it to yourself, there's none of that stress.
Yeah,
it's quite sort of methodic,
methodical, calming,
zen,
mindful.
Yeah, that's the way we're both going for. No, it's really nice. But if you fancy giving it a go, totally recommend it.
My sort of take with scraps is, I think I'm one of those people that, like, if I'm doing something new, or there's something on a garment, like I don't know, maybe like a placket or a pocket detail or a cuff, or maybe it's just a new way of doing something that I'm not sure of. I think it's really good often to just do a test sample first. Yeah. And I think, yes, it takes time, but the pressure's off. So if it all goes disastrously wrong, you haven't ruined your garment. Yeah. So I always think like just small pieces of scrap fabric that are maybe often, would be big enough to do something like that, but, you know, they're not big enough to make into a garment. Yeah. Just, you know, thinking, well, I've got a huge pile of fabric there that I can just test and test and test on as much as I want, and it's not like ruining my stash then. I'm not having to waste good fabric on it. So I always think of it like that, and, you know, and that's that practicing of a technique or learning something new. It's all part of the joy of sewing, isn't it? Yeah. And the other side of it is I haven't done this in a little while, but I'm definitely more tempted after last night. Is I love the idea of getting fabrics from your scrap box that could be all different shapes and sizes, but if you get something like on a colour palette that works, and maybe something that's all of a similar way, and patching that fabric together to make one big piece of fabric, and then cutting your pattern pieces out of that. I just think, I mean, one, it's completely unique to you. There will never be another garment exactly the same. Yeah. And again, it's similar to your quilt. It's sort of, you know, it's a visual demonstration of your sewing progress or a process and projects over a period of time, which I just love that idea. And I think it's just the unique, like, one-offness about it that I really love with that.
There's also that sort of patch fabric thing to the extreme. There's people online that have cut scraps down to literal, like, tiny pieces, and then you either sew it between organza, or you sew it between a dissolvable sort of substance,
like a water soluble.
So that you kind of put all the lines in, and the lines are part of the detail. It's probably tonal, and then you dissolve that away, and then use that as a fabric.
See, I did quite a bit of that.
That's so fun. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, kudos to anyone who does that, because they really put it right down.
And if you have like a felting machine as well, again, this was something that we did back at uni. So a felting machine, if you haven't seen it before, it's generally anyway, your machine, where on a sewing machine you have just like one needle with thread through, and, you know, you stitch. A felting machine will often have like 7 or maybe even more needles that are just like barbed needles, and they don't have any thread. So you have like your base fabric, and then all your little scraps, you know, you can put on. And when you actually felt them together, it literally bonds and felts the two fabrics together to create one fabric. And so, I mean, there's so much creative potential for that, isn't there? Yeah. And with that, like you're saying, you know, you could use the tiniest little whispers of scraps and create, you know, a whole new fabric.
More things are popping into my head, because I've also seen people do artwork where they use strip pieces to create like landscapes. Oh, it's just gorgeous.
Like, that was the sort of thing.
Yeah, you know, like a denim sort of sea, and then
denim scraps are lovely to work with, aren't they? Oh yeah, all different shades of blue.
To keep us going.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that's the hardest thing, picking a project, isn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully that's give you some ideas for using your scraps, and let's jump into the next challenge. So the third challenge, I didn't know whether I was like what to expect with this too much, because it was the contestants were challenged with finding second-hand crochet blankets, weren't they, and transforming them into a garment. Yeah. So I guess it could be any garment. Really,
absolutely. Yeah. And where do you get the blankets from? How do they match? Like, what's the weight of them? Like, it was so much different to this challenge than has been in previous ones. It's almost a transformation challenge, you were saying.
Yeah, really. It is, isn't it? Yeah. It's just, I guess, a transformation challenge where they've had time to plan and practice and that. I remember from a previous series, I can't remember which one it was now, but I don't know if anyone else remembers it. It was when they were challenged to find, I think it was like knitwear or knitted, maybe not knitted blankets, maybe just knitwear, and transform that into a garment. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I'm not sure about that, but it was like one of my favourite episodes ever, and I thought some of the stuff they made was fantastic. And last night as well, some of the stuff was fantastic.
Yeah, they all approached it at completely different angles, which is the joy of it. That's why it's competition, that's why there's so many different sewists there.
It was very inspiring.
It was, I crochet personally. I have a couple of crochet projects on the go, but I've never thought about doing it that way. I've always constructed from scratch or whatever, and it's very much blankets, basic garments. So to be challenged to make something, you know, fashionable or shapely is quite hard to crochet, really.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of transforming a blanket into a garment, I mean, that whole worry and dread of dealing with, you know, you having to cut into that crochet blanket. I mean, for me, I can crochet, and I sometimes do, but I am quite an impatient crafter. I mean, like I say, I like quick, easy garment stuff, and knitting and crochet just does take me so long that I often get fed up with it, if I'm honest. So I'm very much one of those sorts of people that picks up a project, puts it down for a while, and then goes back to it. So I fully appreciate how much work has gone into a blanket like that, and then to cut into it just makes me like, oh.
And just the fear. Yeah, they did a great job. Some people use like masking tape, or they interfaced. Mia interfaced hers, which was genius.
I mean, it worked. It clearly worked to her favour, that, because she did so well.
Some of them needed lining, because obviously it can be quite holey depending on the size of the blanket. There's so much to think about. It's the bulk of trying to get everything under there.
I mean, a few of the contestants, when you saw them sewing through the bulk, you felt for them, didn't you? I mean,
and the needles broke, and it must have been so stressful. Like, they all kept a level.
I think, like, for us, you know, guys sewing at home, doing something like that, that's at the point where you'd be like, you know, maybe uttering a swear word or two, throwing it to one side, storming off
out the window.
And then, you know, when you've calmed down, you come back to it, right?
It becomes your nemesis, which is the worst.
But they can't do that, can they? And like, they're against the clock. It must be so frustrating. But yeah, there were definitely different levels of success in the garments, weren't there? And I think the ones where they struggled more, perhaps, was where the weight of the blanket was either very holey or very like a very dense, thick blanket. So we've got a sample here, haven't we, of just a crochet blanket that one of our team here at Minerva has crocheted. It's beautiful, isn't it? I love the colours in it. And like this one, this is quite a dense, chunky, thick blanket, isn't it? And
you just think how. I mean, for me, I'd need to see the blanket I was making with in order to make a decision on what pattern to go with.
Absolutely,
and a lot of them self-drafted as well for that reason, because it's very hard. You want minimal pattern pieces, really.
Minimal seams, minimal bulk.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So this has kind of got a fun chevron pattern, so you could do kind of what Lauren did, where she had the chevrons going down the legs.
I loved Lauren's last night. I loved how she used like the scalloped sort of edge of the blanket for the hemline of the trousers. I loved the chevron placement in the trousers. I think maybe it looked a little bulky around the waist of the trouser top, but with the crop top, the top she'd added with it, it all just worked.
It's one of those too, you know, if I make a dress and I want it to just nip in a bit more, you can go back in and take in that seam. With the crochet, you're like, ooh, like how there's not really a way to sort of do that.
But Lauren's was one of my favourites.
And Mia had sort of taken the central part and used toggles through some of the holes on the edge of the granny square blanket. Very, very clever. The whole thing was
I was well
extremely impressive.
And she added some of her own crochet details. There were a few that did that, weren't there?
And she was wearing her own crochet top as well. She was like, we knew it was
what was coming. And I think the ones that added their own crochet into it, I mean, again, in that time frame, that is just impressive.
With sweaty hands. It's like,
absolutely.
Or even trying to match the yarn to the type that you're using is still a skill. So it was really cool. We just have to. You have to have a bit of a play.
Yes,
so I've got
absolutely.
Some granny squares as well, again made by one of our other fabulous crochet people on the team. So this would be a little bit different, wouldn't it? You almost like...
Yeah, we were saying this, like, you'd really want to maybe consider placement,
in a way that's blocky. I mean, that's what Mia had done. So I'm making a jacket with smaller granny squares, and the plan is to do very sort of boxy cropped construction, because it would be hard. And then if you'd done a diamond, it would be even harder. Like, it depends how crazy you're feeling, how confident
Yeah,
you're
how
feeling with it all.
adventurous maybe.
But yeah, it's so cool. Sometimes you can pick these up as well. It's not just, or you could, when blankets are put together, sometimes they are sewn together. So you can release the granny squares sometimes from their bigger stitch. But yeah, it's a really cool way to start thinking about how you could refashion it.
Yeah, definitely. Who else did you like? And I thought...
Tony.
Which Tony?
Tony with his festival trousers.
Oh, big,
so super clever idea to... there was a lining and there was a waistband, which didn't look out of place. It looked really cool.
Yeah, it did.
And then the two large granny square
massive
blankets,
granny squares
were each leg, and it just had such impact because of the way that the lines fell, and then just a cool like breezy top. It was
so the other Tony, I know he didn't maybe quite get the finish he wanted, and he ran out of time, and it wasn't quite what he wanted, but for me, the jacket, the back of the jacket, where he'd used the chevrons, and it was that really classic navy and white colour combination. That bit I thought was absolutely beautiful. I loved it.
And a clever idea as well, letting the blanket dictate the design to you so it doesn't look out of place.
Yeah, absolutely,
Oh, what a fun challenge. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we haven't presented what we would do as we don't have blankets, we're offering you a little way to cheat if you don't have access to a crochet blanket, or I mean, you know, hit and miss with shops and picking them up and stuff, but you want that crochet look.
Yes,
we do have some fabrics on sale.
Yeah, so we just thought we'd pull out some of our like crochet effect kind of fabrics. I mean, they're certainly not hand crocheted these, but they just give the effect of
and they're so beautiful
and they're so
colourful,
beautiful,
and you can imagine these in so many contexts.
Yes.
Like the first thought is a sort of oversized over your swimwear. Or like
a cover up
festival sort of maxi dress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a dress with a simple lining, or a slip. Wear a slip dress underneath. I just think some sort of like, you know, like a cover up robe, kind of loose, kind of jacket style would be lovely. Loads you can make in them, isn't there? And they definitely, you know, they invite you to be a bit more experimental, these sort of fabrics, don't they? So this one is a cotton one, which just feels lovely because it's cotton, doesn't it? And it comes in black, white and cream.
So if you feel a neutral palette, that's the good way to go.
I suppose you could maybe dye the white to the cream. You could experiment with that, couldn't you? Yeah. Or maybe some like tie-dye kind of look. That'd be really cool,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to go to a festival as well. I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah, you love this
new.
One, don't you?
This is new and it comes in so many colourways.
Yeah, it's a core range now. We've added to the range.
Stretch knit.
Yeah, it's like a lace, like sweater knit crochet effect, isn't it?
I see a sort of it sort of reminds me of waffle a little bit.
Yeah,
so
just
I do
a lighter
think,
version of waffle.
Yeah, a kimono style robe or something this would be comfortable for that. But again, any kind of pullover, a light sort of jumper off the shoulder.
Sweater.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, in a way, like this sort of style, I think would be lovely in it. Maybe just something a little bit shorter. You know, like a drop sleeve, oversized.
It comes in some very funky, bold colours as well.
Doesn't it? Yeah. But and some more subtle ones as well, but there are lots of bold, gorgeous. I think the lilac's really pretty, isn't it? Yeah, it's lovely. Gorgeous. And then these next two are quite similar. I just love like the zesty vibes of these.
Is fab.
So they're both crochet fit laces that have like lots of holes in them, so they look very crochet,
and they're very woven. You know, they're going to stay.
Yeah, that's the thing with all of these fabrics, isn't it? As opposed to using an actual crocheted by hand blanket. Yeah. But you know, when you cut into them, they're not just going to unravel.
No, and they've got enough structure to hold like a pattern. Yeah. Better.
And with both of these fabrics, I know on Minerva on the website as well, there's lots of inspiration on the pages what other people have made with them, which
just think how they gather too. Looks so gorgeous. Or like a dress for little girls, or
just the colours on those two. I think they actually look really nice together as well. Doing something like colour blocked or something would be really lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh, just gorgeous. And then the next one. So this one comes in, I think, 3 or 4 colours maybe as well. And this one to me really looks like
it's that very impressive.
Doesn't it? So very like using a very fine yarn. So it's quite holey as well. And
it's
obviously
like
it's
a two-tone as well.
Yeah, the thread is variegated, isn't it? Or
that's the word.
Actually, no, I think it's more of just like a 2 different shades of the same colour, like twisted together, isn't it?
But super trendy. Coral is very popular.
Again, with that, I'd be making like an oversized tee in that, like a drapey top, or like some sort of like loose drapey cardigan. Actually, that would be lovely as well.
So if someone wanted to make trousers, they're probably better off with, I mean, you could do like, well, that's a stretch.
I don't know really. I mean, obviously these ones are definitely more holy. Yeah. Whereas these aren't. But maybe this one instead of trousers, just because it's a little bit lighter and breezier.
They would be so comfortable.
Oh yeah, they would. With an elastic waistband of some kind.
And
then this one.
This one's a wild card.
Yeah. So this one is technically a sweater knit as opposed to a lace like the others. But it does have that feel of crochet, doesn't it?
Yeah, and to take you through the months, because obviously these are very summery.
It's very summery,
This one could probably, I mean, if you want to take it in, if you like the crocheted effect or the sweater knit effect,
and you want that sort of more like chunky crochet look.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and there's so many makes on this, because this comes in so many colours with it being a core range. And there's so many makes on the site to give you ideas what to make, but cardigans, tops, dresses.
And this would be the easiest one to dip your toe in with. Yeah. Structurally.
Yeah, because it's not as whole. Yeah. Maybe that or this one.
And then build up to it.
Because they're not as holy.
Yeah, depending on whether you like knit or.
Something just lighter weight or something more chunky and heavyweight.
Gorgeous.
But yeah, there's lots of variety there, isn't it? So whatever your kind of, you know, whatever you want your approach to be, that might just give you some ideas on. It's a different way to approach.
An easier way to attack the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I say, it's a little bit hard in this one for us to say what we would have done, isn't it? Because we would have had to have actually had the blankets in front of us. I think I would have gone down the route of a dress.
Yeah, I was feeling the two-piece.
Were you? Yeah.
But only if you have enough of the same fabric. I probably wouldn't have been risky. I wouldn't have risked. Picking multiple blankets, but
I think but having seen the ones that did, like Mia's the granny squares with the plain sleeves, when she first said it, I thought, I wonder if that worked, but I mean it totally worked. It was fabulous, wasn't it? So very, very inspiring episode. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that third challenge, because it was so different to
and do you crochet, and have you got any tips for how to you know,
it'd be interesting to see how many sewers out there
actually
crochet as well, wouldn't it?
So that concludes our roundup of episode 4 of the Sewing Bee. Did you watch? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy our picks? Do you feel inspired? Next week, episode 5 is Art Week, which is going to be well exciting. I'm a very arty-farty person. So they've got just looking at the little recap or the preview last night. They've got a canvas, for the transformation challenge. They are transforming a giant canvas into something which feels like a few of the weeks put together, which is really cool. We've never done anything like that before.
And the one I'm really looking forward to though is that third challenge, because it's something like a garment from the dreams.
Yes.
And it's with dolly surrealism inspiration, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I mean, the little previews they gave us, some of the stuff it's been made.
But that's what I want. I want a runway full of things that you maybe wouldn't wear to Aldi, you know.
That you wouldn't see on the
they were like big eyes, and the fabric choices are going to be ornate and over the top.
I almost don't really know what to expect. So
and what are we going to pick? But super looking forward to it. So thanks for watching. And,
thanks very much for watching, and I guess we'll be back again next week. And do let us know in the comments, you know, what you thought of this week's episode. Are you looking forward to next week's? You know, who was your favourite from this week? Did you agree with the winner of the challenges? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back again next week.